What's up, everybody? Shawn here, back with another Live to Roll live. Today we were talking independence, and we got the quadcast here, full quad squad going on. Let's just get into some intros, and then we'll start talking some stuff.
Yep.
uh, my name is Shawn. I'm a C5 C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident. I don't know my fancy Asia score like Tom here, but go ahead, Tom.
What's up, everybody? I'm Tom Conaway. I'm a C6B quadriplegic. I've
There.
been paralyzed for 25 years. And yeah, I've been living independently for the last decade. Super excited to talk about it today. Bobby, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I'm going off the old scale. I'm not a tetra. I'm a quadriplegic, C5, C6 of 33 years from a bicycle accident. And enough about us three bozos. Let's introduce our great speaker of the day, our workout queen, who I get to see all the time. Rachel, take it away.
Hi, I'm Racheal. I'm a C6 quadriplegic incomplete. That's as far as I know from a bad dune accident out in Cali.
Yeah, it's like kind of depending on the assessment and like some specifics. But if you are C6 incomplete, they probably qualify you like C6B, kind of like me, because that's what I am. I'm C6, but I'm also like incomplete. That I can't really like feel below my level of injury, but I do have some sensation. Like I have some bladder sensation, some bowel sensation, stuff like that. So, it's
I
really
would be
not that
curious to
important.
do that. Like I honestly do.
Um,
I do want to do one myself. I'm just it would be kind of cool, I guess. But
The only main reason I like did it is because I got a new physiatrist. He asked me what I was, and he was like, "What's this 5'6" nonsense?" He was like, "What's your actual like Asia score?" I'm like, "I don't know." So we did it, but I've also like been in the game for 25 years, and I back when they were originally assessing like my injury, that's what they gave me, and they didn't have, I think, the same, assessment that they do. I think it probably existed like the INCS test or the Asia assessment test, but I'm not sure it was documented or specified as it is today. But I thought it was really important moving forward. Like as I continue to age with my disability, to just kind of get a baseline of where I'm at, so I can track my progress. I can, know if I'm maintaining myself or if things are getting worse or things are changing, how they're changing, blah 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 blah. So that's the only reason why I kind of nerded out on it a little bit. But I think it's also good to know, get to know yourself, get to know your level of function. What up? We got some
Tom,
cool people. Quad Mickey from New York, Central New York, in the building, represent the East Coast. We got the Chi-Town squad in the building. What's up, Nikki and JJ Mack from the UK, and Andrew from the UK? What's up, everybody? We appreciate you guys so much for being here. And
let me ask
yeah,
you, let me ask you a question, Tom. So you used to be or stated 5'6" quad, right?
yep,
So now
yeah.
that you lost the five and just have the six, do you feel like you should be like more independent? Like I'd be afraid to lose that five, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wait, man, that means I could do. I should be doing more. Like with your independence, and this kind of segues into our topic, because now you're
Yeah.
just a little more independent than that five. When you get into like, I would start freaking out because if someone just said, no, you have no C5, it's all C6 or whatever, however they do this. And I'd be scared like, I've been a six all along. I should have
Yeah.
been doing more. I don't know. It's just funny.
I mean, it's a good question because I kind of did think about it, and I would say that it's every spinal cord injury is different. We talk about that all the time on the show. It's like a fingerprint. No two C6s are the same because it's just how the injury plays out. It's just how the unique nature of spinal cord injury paralysis. But every person is different too. I have a very good understanding of my strength, my function, my level of function, what my body can do, and you know that's what I'm sticking to, and like that's what I'll tell the insurance, and that's what I'll tell my doctors, and if they want to judge me based on like that level and the like differences between like C5 and C6, I would say that's bullshit because you know it's my situation is my situation. Like I have achieved the level of independence that I feel comfortable with. I'm always striving for more, but that doesn't weigh on me because my disability is very unique and individual. I think all of us are unique little butterflies out there. If
I
that makes
started
sense,
out
does
as
that make
a
sense?
C4 complete.
Well, Rachel?
Because like I think go ahead, Rachel. Also,
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying I started out as a C4 complete. Like they said that I would have no function beyond a little bit of movement in my wrist, and they were completely wrong because now I function as a C6 incomplete. It is crazy how I always say don't listen to the doctors, just wait. Like let your body heal. Just wait. Give it a couple
well,
years.
It does take
yeah,
a
I
couple of years.
mean,
They can't do one of the assessments right away and know what you're going to be
Did you,
2 years down the
Rachel? Did
line.
you break C4?
Yeah,
Did it
my
show
C4
signs?
exploded. Yeah, it was
Okay.
gone. I
Crazy.
had C4, C5, C6 injuries, and then I just learned about 2 years ago. They're like, yeah, your T level injury. I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you had T level spinal injury. And I was like, okay, well, I wasn't aware of that, so that's good to know. But I have a ton of sensation below my brake line. Like, I could feel my feet. I could tell you what toe you're touching. It's
Oh wow.
crazy. And in the beginning, I just felt like a floating head,
yeah.
Like, because you can't feel. But now it's like crazy how much it's changed.
Now here's where I think the conversation is a little different. I've known some parents that have more care and assistance and more dependence on caregivers and people around them, facilitating their health and function in day-to-day life than I have really ever had, or at least had in a long long time. Now, is that wrong? Like, should I judge that parent because I maybe think that they should be functioning at a higher level or doing more independent tasks for themselves? It's hard for me to say. I think
I'll tell you this.
certainly, it you could say, hey, you could be doing more for yourself. You should be doing more for yourself because it will be better for your health. If this
Yeah.
parent happens to be like in their 40s or 50s and like aging and like dealing with stuff like of course, there are nuances and differences in their situation. I would always say it really comes down to the individual and their circumstances, how they feel about their function, their level of function, and what they can achieve. The main reason that drove me to like get as independent as I was because I was younger and I had some aspirations to get out and live life, as normal as I could. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to date. I wanted to live life. I wanted to party. I wanted to just do my thing. In my mind, I saw myself kind of doing that like any other kid did, growing up and moving out. I It's not mirrored exactly, but I am pretty independent, functional for my age and my level of disability, and that was just my aspiration. It's hard. It's super hard to be independent, but we can talk about that more later. I want to kind of go through if you guys are cool with like our situation. I know we've all lived independently in the past. I live independently now. When I say that, I do have care a few days a week, and I do have someone that comes into my place like 4 or 5 evenings a week to help me with certain things like laundry, dishes, cleaning that would be difficult for me to do otherwise.
I think living
Um,
independently is a combination of doing things independently and coordinating your care.
yeah.
Because you do
Boom,
have to.
Shawn, you just said it, bro. That's the other big part. Coordinate your care. So that's kind of my situation. I do not live with anybody. I don't have any roommates or anything, but I do have care. I coordinate that and, to get shower and some bladder bowel care a couple of days a week because I need it, and I can't do all that on my own. And neither can I do all of my cleaning and stuff around my apartment. I mean, I could, but after about a month, it'd probably be a rough situation around, Tom's pad. So let's just say that I'm very, very grateful for the help. Now, Rachel, what's your situation? If you don't mind us just jumping over to you.
No, I live with my mom, but the only care I need is getting in and out of the shower and like washing my hair and my feet. Otherwise, I am completely independent. I do everything on my own. I literally just got done mopping my entire house today. And but I agree with you, like certain things exhaust me, like doing stuff like that is exhausting for me. It really takes a lot of my energy, so it would be nice if some, but I'm also too particular and I'd be like, you missed a fucking spot, you know? So, but
Yeah.
yeah, as of right now, the only thing I need help with is help getting in and out of the shower every other day. And that's about it. I've been doing all my bowel and bladder care, my dressing, everything. My mom does the dishes, but other than that, I do my laundry. I clean the entire house. I do it all.
Yeah.
I could do dishes if I had a roll under sink. I could do dishes, but otherwise, I do everything on my own.
You
Yeah.
could probably do dishes from a power chair too. Like pulling up next to it if you could like get some height advantage. Um, but here's the dealio with all of that. We gotta operate within our environment, within our parameters, right? Shawn and Bobby and Racheal are super quads, and they roll around in manual chairs, and they self-propel and they push. Now, that I think comes with some like advantages and disadvantages. What I
There are.
would say the disadvantages is like I feel like I'm a lot more independent from my power chair. Um, I would have trouble transferring. I would have trouble, operating within my apartment, getting, to certain surfaces, like doing dishes and things that, I do like got to do from time to time or whatever from a manual chair. Um, so I use a power chair to help enable me to be a little bit more independent. I think these are lots of choices and decisions we all got to make for ourselves, depending on what our wants, our aspirations are, and then our environment might dictate. My environment dictates me being in a power chair because it's easier, it's more advantageous. Like I'm safer, I'm a little more functional. Now there are environments that probably I would be more like accessible or independent in a manual chair too. And these guys can talk on that.
Yeah.
You know,
See, like
it,
that's what I feel like kind of the same way, or I feel like it would actually be harder for me to transfer from a power chair because like my style of transfer, the way I pull up on stuff, like and then also the ability for me to be able to get stuff off the floor. I know you got your reacher skills, but that's the other thing from a manual chair.
Yeah,
You're lower, so you can get stuff off the floor a little easier versus being up high in the power chair. But then again, you
yeah,
have the height advantage. I can't
yeah,
get something in a somewhere you probably can because you can elevate and get to something where I could not. So it is a balance. You got to figure out what your priorities are.
and that's
Plus, he's
really
saving his shoulders.
but
Mm-hmm.
also
That's
sometimes we adapt to what we have. So if you're a power chair user, Tom is like adapted, and the way he uses that reacher to get things off the ground, it blows my mind away. And his body was set up over time to do what he does, and I think that goes vice versa with myself, or with Racheal and you, Shawn. I think our bodies just whatever we have, we somewhat adapt. So in a way, if we had a big 50-pound hospital chair, somehow we would adapt in a certain way. Now, would it be fun? No, but our bodies would adapt to that kind of environment, how we're going to get around what you choose to do. And I know that over time, like Shawn and I, and probably one day down the road, Racheal, we're going to be going to those power chairs,
Oh,
and to adapt is the scariest thing for me. And so with your independence and adapting, it will happen, and we'll get used to it, and probably because we have no choice because our shoulders are done or your body is done.
that's
But and I think at first we're going to hate it. And then over time, our bodies are going to be doing what Tom's did with the power chair. And I think if Tom went to a manual chair and they said, no more power for Tom because he ruined too many, ran over too many toes, whatever it may be. And, Tom would learn how to adapt, and his independence would come let's just say, into play when, let's just say, getting out into your garage, and or out your apartment building, and you just needed help over this one bump. Well, his independence would be heightened by finding a neighbor to help him in and out, set up a phone call, have people around that are going to help him be independent in what he needs to
Get a
do.
ramp put in to enable
Yeah,
more
whatever it may
independent
be.
access. Like, and that's kind of like where I wanted to segue this conversation to is curating your environment. Not like it's not always about like achieving ultimate independence where you don't have to depend on anybody or whatever, but it's just finding a healthy balance for yourself and coordinating your care effectively and coordinating your life effectively. I wanted to move out when I was 20 years old. It was like my big aspiration. It was like graduating high school and stuff. I want to move out and go to college. So that's what I envisioned, and I took the steps necessary to make that possible. One, I coordinated my care, so I relocated locations. I had to figure out in-home supportive services, which out here in California is a social service that provides payment for caregivers. I know that very similar systems exist throughout the U.S. I can't speak internationally, but again, I don't want to get too stuck on that. And then I needed additional care. I needed kind of more skilled nursing care, and I coordinated some nursing care through a home health agency that comes and helps me 2 days a week. I needed an accessible apartment in that I wasn't going to have someone with me all the time, so I needed essential access. I needed access to my refrigerator. I needed access to, my catheters, and I needed access to, like my desk and I don't know, just like those common livable spaces. My dad helped me out with that. We put up some shelves. We got some cool, furniture that made things accessible for me, right? And then the I, I don't know the last part of this, I guess there's no last part, is like, could I do the things necessary to survive independently? Being, what if I need to get out of my chair? Um, would I always have to have a caregiver there for that? I didn't want to. I did when I didn't want that all the time, but when I first moved out, that's how I had it arranged. Every night when I would transfer, someone would be there. Every morning when I would transfer, someone would be there, if not to assist me, to supervise. And then I worked on more independence from there as I got more confident, as I got more comfortable, as I, better figured out my situation, how I, acclimated and adapted to my space. I could then, change things and alter things. I could have more help, maybe a couple hours before bed, but after that, I don't need anybody. Or, now I went from having nursing care every morning, every day. I'd have a shower, someone help me dress, help me with my bladder and bowel care. And now I just have someone a couple days a week because I wanted some change. I wanted some freedom in the mornings and, some differences in how I was living my life. So I made some changes to my independence and my routine. Um, but those are kind of the elements are, your skills, your space, and then the help you coordinate, balancing your care. I would say those are like probably the three core main elements to like you know, achieving like living independence, and that's different for everybody too. Um,
One
I
thing,
Go ahead,
sorry,
Bobby.
Tom.
No, you're good.
One thing I was going to say when you say that is, you know, we all start off with needing as much much help as we can when we first in rehab, get out of rehab, and slowly we build up confidence, and then we become independent to where our ability is. And when I say that, to where our ability is the main factor. What is comfortable for us? And not everybody's comfortable with the same thing. And way Shawn might transfer, the way you get in and out of your chair, Tom, and or Racheal, you have if anybody wants to see some great videos as well as what Shawn does and Tom on these channels, but Racheal, go to her Instagram, and she has a
Yeah.
lot of step-by-step details of how she does a lot of her care, and it's pretty awesome. And I think you
Mhm.
set it up to your level of comfort. And
Mm.
and at first I used to look at people going, oh man, you should be able to do this and this, and oh my god, I can't believe you use I used to make fun of a buddy of mine who was almost like a parrot except for one hand, and he used to always transfer with a sliding board, and I would make fun of him. And, and now that I'm getting older, my transfers are crappy these days. And I'm like, my wife looks at me and is like, you should have learned with the transfer board. I'm like, yeah, probably. And it's, that was his comfort level, what he felt comfortable, even though he had full triceps and lift is high, and I'm no triceps and transferring with no sliding board. And now over time, I'm like, ugh. So it kind of worked out for him. Now that he's getting older and I'm getting older, I got to make that change. And so now I look at everybody, where is your independence? What's going to make you feel comfortable? Because I'll tell you one thing, Tom, I am not comfortable with my independence as I used to be, especially with my own manual chair. You say, oh, look at these guys. But now it's like coming to fruition that I want the wheels like Shawn has, and I want the power unit on the back of my chair. I want something so I don't have to struggle and at the end of the day burn myself out. And I think that's where it comes down to. How much energy are you putting out for your independence?
So that is one kind of
JJ had what we have. Help in the morning with our shower and bowels, and just like what you have, Racheal, and I think we all have that. And then we get independent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our company that doesn't exhaust us.
Well, I was just gonna say that was one of the trade-offs I did make, like, because even going to rugby tournaments and stuff, I'll still get like made fun of for having the emotion wheels by other 0.5s that are like like people at my level. And I'm like, all right, bro, let's see in a few years when your shoulders are just done and I'm at least like I'm just trying to prolong life, because I know at some point I will probably wear myself out as well. I go pretty hard for like I push myself, but like that was one compromise. I was like, no, I'm gonna use these because that's like my hybrid. I have a little bit of power, but I to save my shoulders, but I don't have like the full assist type of thing.
Well, it's just what you said too about the balance. The only reason I have the energy to do what I do in terms of like my level of like livable independence is because I'm not pushing and propelling myself around all day. If I was doing that and like achieving like the same level of like productivity and like going out, like live my life from a manual chair, I would need so much more help. I think with my other kind of care and like doing some of those things that like I have the energy to do because my power chair is sending me that like saving me that self-propelling energy, and it's just what we say all the time: balance, balance, balance. It really comes down to it. And you know I didn't really mean to poke fun at these guys. Like I call them super quads because I think they are super quads. Like I mean they inspire me. Like the level of like function, independence that they all do and achieve, it's higher. And some ways
Nikki said you're
mine.
a super quad too.
But
I know that, Nikki. I appreciate it, and I know it. But I wasn't, so much like poking fun. But I've like seen those guys too, and been like, man, like you look at this try hard, pushing himself around in his wheelchair. I never make those judgments anymore. Because everybody's environment is so different. Everybody's context of their life is so different than mine. It's like the reason they're in their chair doing their thing, living that way is because, it fits them. It's how they adapted. It suits their environment. I'm sure like it is. And, if it's not, like, I hope, they're like talking to other quads and pairs and figuring out what they can do to change it, make it better. But, that's really what it comes down to is it's what makes this person feel comfortable and secure and functional in their day-to-day life. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And no one should be judging anybody for that. For real. So that's, it's funny, me and Shawn and Bobby, especially, like, I've known these guys for years now. Like, they're my brothers, like, will be for the rest of my life. So, when I poke fun at them, it's like poking fun, at my family. Like, it's a little different. But that's just like how we do it.
And I do also feel like, even if we're not, I mean, we all pretty close and stuff, but it's easier to take something like that from another one of your peers. Like if one of us says something like that to Racheal or whatever, jokes around with her, she's not going to take offense. But if some random able-bodied dude's like, oh yeah, why don't you like like get rid of your smart drive, like do something, like drop the slide
It
when
would
it
be
says
so
something
fucked
stupid like
up. Yeah.
that. It's totally different,
Yeah.
like when it is like we I don't know, even if you're not that close, it's still you have that like
Yeah.
level of like
Powered
you can
already.
understand there's I don't know.
I
Now,
just got a for a smart drive.
Because
I
that's
ain't fucking.
when I first oh so, but when I first started coming out to rugby, man, like I was super weak, super not doing anything independently. And those dudes made fun of me. They didn't know me that well yet, but they were like, "No, man!" Like like they just kind of like, I mean, they gave me the tough love, and like it helped. It worked for me. So
You
just
need that sometimes. There's sometimes where I'm like, you could do more. It's better for you to do more. I do try to push people, but I know people's limits, and especially newly injured people, they don't want to hear. Like, I know when I was first injured, I was a C4 and
yeah,
I was struggling to brush my teeth and I was trying to sneak and have my mom brush my teeth and my physical therapist caught me and she was so frustrated with me and so upset with me and I'm like it's so hard though but I'm glad that they pushed me. I mean all I was doing was feeding myself and brushing my teeth when I left but I didn't even get really as independent as I am right now until for the last 3 years because it dawned on me. I was like, dude, my mom's not going to be alive forever, and she's getting a lot older. Like, um, what if something happens? Because I don't really, I have a big support system, but no one that I would be like, I could depend on this person. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So that fear of her, I always joke around. I'm like, when you die, I need to be independent.
Oh,
That's
mom,
what pushed
mom, I'm independent in case you die. That's why.
pretty much.
Well,
So
I mean, that's a little bit of a
uh,
morbid joke, and I'm sure your mom's gonna live forever because all moms live forever. But
for real.
um, it the motive. What is your motivator for getting independent? Like, one is security. Within your environment, it's like, hey, like I knew my parents weren't always gonna be around to take care of me either. And as I got older, that wasn't my want either. Was for them to always have to be around to help me out. I wanted independence and freedom, from them, but I also wanted them to be independent and free too, be able to live their
Yeah.
lives and not, um, dependency is just like a strange thing for people, and it's different for everybody too. I think I am afraid to be dependent on anybody or
so,
anything.
Me
It
too.
sounds a little wild, but
yeah,
like that's kind of how my brain frames it a little bit for me. Um,
And it's funny that you should say that, Tom. Sorry if I cut you off if you were
no,
in
you're
the
good.
mid sentence, but you know, I I feel like I have this Benjamin Button kind of life, where when I first got hurt, I was moving like an old slow man. I mean, I was delicate and I couldn't move very fast, especially because I didn't want a power chair, and so moving my manual chair was very slow. My body was slow. And then all of a sudden, I got to independence. You're in your 20s and your 30s, and now I'm feeling like I'm starting to go downhill in the sense of getting younger, where certain things scare me now. Of like when you were 11, or I should say, a lot of things didn't scare me when I was a little kid too.
I
I'd
know.
still jump off anything, but for some it does, and I feel like I'm getting to that other stage, that other lifestyle. With now I have a colostomy. It's kind of like a diaper. It's like I
Yeah,
feel like I'm going this opposite. But one thing I wanted to say is we all go with our independence to also not try to let us burn us out, so that when you are on the decline, it doesn't happen too fast. You know, that you overdid it and then you have too much shoulder problems. Like our buddy and family member, Robert Soto, he talks about how he
Yeah,
blew his shoulder out with the way he was getting his chair in and out of his car. Yeah, he was completely independent, getting on, using his braces, and using his all of his shoulder, and now he's suffering because of maybe too much independence. And so we still have to watch that as well, and be be on that mindset of, all right, this is great now, but if I overdo this with, and I know you were talking, Rachel, that you just mop the whole house and you clean everything and you do your laundry, and I noticed, I bought accessible, washer and dryer. You know how many times I did it? Maybe 3 or 4 times because digging in there, trying to get those wet clothes and then digging into the dryer and trying to get every sock, and you're like, this is for the birds. My shoulder, my
For
back,
real.
my side, because I'm leaning over. My ribs are killing me because I've been leaning over for the last, 30 minutes getting that one more sock, whatever it is. And I'm like, mm, I think it'd be better when my aide comes over to set this all up.
Yeah. Well, let's touch on that for a second because we had a couple great comments from Ricky
And
Russell.
real quick, let's thank
Says,
Ben for the super
"Oh,
chat.
Benny boy, love you, man. I
Thank
hope
you,
your
man.
birthday and your road trip was good, bro. Miss you, dude." Living independently, gets going back to Ricky Russell's comment. Living independently is something I've thought about the last couple of years. What I get hung up on is what someone would do if they randomly needed help outside of set caregiving hours. I want to move out of state just to be completely on my own. So I made a jump from my parents. I moved not out of state, but I moved from Northern California to Southern California. And anybody that knows the distances, it's like moving to a different state because it's like 400 or 500 miles in between, and it was a big jump. It wasn't like they were going to be neighbors and be able to come over if I needed to, quick help with something. And that's kind of what I was dealing with. Early on, I didn't have caregivers during the day. I was, meant to be at school, out about living my life, doing my thing, and I just wasn't gonna have anybody outside of my morning care and my evening care. And that was kind of my big fear moving out. It's like, oh shit, what if something happens when nobody's here? Or, what if I need something? And that popped up within the first couple days of being on my own. Like, I dropped like a textbook on the floor. It's like, shit, what am I going to do? Like, I need that for class. I guess I got two options. Like, I can abandon it, not use it, explain to the teacher, borrow one from a friend, whatever, or figure out a way to get it up. Um, wait, ask my caregiver to do it later, or whatever. Um, the answer to that is you figure it out. I might have gone to class and just, hey, like, hey, buddy, I dropped my textbook. You mind if we share it during class? Heck yeah, dude, no problem. Like, maybe I drop it. I need it for homework. I'll procrastinate, postpone it, wait till my caregiver's there later to help me out. If it's a pressing medical thing, that could be when it's a little scary. I did have very good stability in my health. I still had instances of AD and scary moments of discomfort and dysreflexia and spasms, and things like that. And again, deal with it. I've called my caregivers outside of their regular hours and just been like, "Hey, I need some help. Like, I'm in a tough spot. Can you come through?" Maybe they can't. Maybe they can. Maybe I figure out an interim solution to just struggle along until I can get some help. If I can just buy a couple hours and be a little uncomfortable, but as long as I'm going to be okay and make it until I can get that person. Like I've had accidents and just like sit my shit for a couple hours while I waited for someone to get there because I did have the independent skills or the like physical ability to do it. I do now, but let me tell you, it's like a lot of fucking work and energy. Like sometimes I don't have it. Like, and that all comes down to the balance. Like sometimes I'll just do what I can to take care of myself the best I can until I got someone a couple hours coming in a couple hours can help me clean up my apartment, take out my trash, do all this stuff that's like get me dressed again afterwards. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot of balance. You got creative. You gotta yeah. Sometimes
I was gonna say one like, and I, if you can, if you're like in an apartment like you, maybe like if you can try to make friends with people in your area, like in the building, somebody you might be able to call for like minor things, like I don't know,
yeah.
just trying to kind of make friends and do things or work something out with your caregiver if you have one that is really close and local that might be willing to like be somewhat on call, like if and if they're available, and like and if it's an emergency, you just
Well, that's all like kind
911.
of what it comes down to is like when I hire my caregivers, I always try to find someone who lives nearby, within a few miles, just for that convenience. Usually if like uh something changes or you gotta switch days or whatever, it's not that big a deal. Um, I it's funny. I feel like the opposite Benjamin Button, in some ways, because like I didn't get independent until I was like 16 years after my injury. Like when I say I wasn't independent, it's like all my life, like my mom and dad helped me transfer every time in and out of my bed for like the first 15 years being paralyzed. I didn't do independent transfers. I would ask for help getting like cups of water and stuff. Like, hey, bro, give me a cup of water or something. Like, there, of course, like sometimes I would do it myself, but I mean, I always had family and siblings around, and I always had help, and they were always more than happy and willing to give it. Um, you know, and something changed when I was like in high school, and all my friends were moving out and living life, and I was like, shit, like, oh, I'm missing out on something. Um, and then I did move out, and I kind of live my, youth life, like my best college life or whatever. And now, done with that, and I'm, in a relationship, and I'm trying to figure out, my career path and my life, and, what adult Tom is going to be and do. And now I just want to be more independent. I don't want to have to rely on anybody. Like I value my mornings, especially now that I have a partner, like more than anything. Like, and the last thing I want is to have a caregiver. Have to like roll through and take 2 hours out of my day to like deal with that, to dedicate to my body, and like deal with all this shit. I just want to try to get more independent, do more for myself, and push myself so that I can travel. And now it sucks because it's not super realistic.
And
Um,
Tom, that puts Tom for what you did as having help for 15 years from your parents, doing almost everything for you, and then breaking away from that. That puts you as more of a super quad than the three of us put together. I'll tell you that because it
The,
gets really easy, and I've seen too many cases over the years when somebody is like 25 at a rugby tournament and their mom is there, and they're like, "Grab that," and it's just like, dude, you can go get it yourself. I mean, they get so used to it and they don't break out of that independence. And that mom becomes and that dad becomes a very heavy crutch for them. And it's not easy to break away. And I'll tell you, as the older I'm getting and the more stuff my wife helps me out with, it's getting nice. And then every once in a while I have to like, oh yeah, I can do this stuff. I can go get my own water. So
yeah,
it's just it's funny that you have to to break out of that independence is made you a super quad and not to rely on the people that are around us too much because like you said, Racheal, if your mom's not there one day, what are you going to do? And I kind of was, during the pandemic, I lost, our caregiver and my wife was doing a lot. And then all of a sudden my wife went down um, with a brain aneurysm and where she was in the hospital for 30 days. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Here she was assisting on a lot of my transfers, helps me with dressing in the morning, even though I can do it at night. But, luckily I've lived independently. Luckily I know how to shift gears and have people come over and help me. And so, um, it was a big accomplishment in my eyes that after being married for 20 years and having some caregivers, but wife helping out a lot, that when she went down, I was able to pick up and do what I needed to do,
yeah,
transfer on my own, do my own care, get dressed until things got sorted out where I can have people help me out. And luckily, even by the time I got home from the hospital that night at 2:30 in the morning, there was somebody there that was like, "What do you need? Can I help you?" Already at my doorstep.
yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, that's kind of the reality that I ran into is the level of. I mean, I basically the level of independence I want to be is to not be disabled anymore. But don't we all want that,
don't.
right? And I am very very blessed to live in the age that I do. With the technology and the tools that I do that allow me to live the life that I do now, and have lived, and will continue to live. But the last couple years have been a very stark, like, in the face reminder. It's like, um, you got to accept certain realities, and um, those realities are, I need help. I need help. I need help sometimes. I need help in order to, be happy, to feel good, to stay positive, to stay healthy, to stay safe and functional into the future, and to age gracefully. I need help. I can't do it all on my own. Now that doesn't mean that, I need to like abandon my goals of independence, but it means I need to, find my balance, and, a
Yeah.
reasonable, rational balance, to accept and live with and feel good about, and, not resent, the moments that I need help, and, be happy and grateful for them, and then, use what energy I save to, be independent, like do what I want to do in those other times. And, it's just, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of learning, and, not just like learning how to be independent, but also how to ask for help, balance, the care and the help that I require, and, maintain it and achieve it. It's really shitty. I hate our healthcare system. I hate the, social system that exists right now, because, the if I want to be as independent as I want, going back and asking for more help, it's like, what, bro? It's like, you said you didn't need that. Now you're good. So like, sorry, but like, you shot yourself in the foot. It's like Bobby said, you claimed too much. You flew too close to the sun, and now you lose now and all your care and all your help. I wish I could just be honest, about my aspirations for independence, but also like, hey, I need help, 3 or 4 days a week, and I want to figure it out like this and figure it out like that. It's not really like that, unfortunately.
No.
It's like all or nothing. It's like you either have a lot of care all the time, or you have very little. In-home
Mm.
supportive services allows you to kind of allocate that to your family, or if you can find like a third-party caregiver that's willing to help you out with everything, it can certainly be achieved and balanced very effectively. Just like Juan was talking about in the chat, he's really grateful for his awesome caregivers who go above and beyond to help him out. But it can be really freaking hard finding that balance, and wanting to be really independent, still requiring care and help, especially like higher level of like nursing care and stuff sometimes, and then to be able to get it and keep it and stuff. It's really, really hard. That's, I think, the biggest bar to a lot of quads I know moving out, is just because they, either can't afford to have the kind of care that they need, or, you know, it just wouldn't be realistic financially to, pay for the care, all the care that they require, because it would be too much out of pocket and make, living not accessible financially and stuff. It's just really nuanced. Have you guys like had any struggles with all that?
Yeah, and it's a balancing. I know, Tom, you were here a couple weekends ago, and we were talking about that. With especially when it's like, you work too much, then you lose some of your funding, then you lose some of your caregiver, and then you lose, uh, certain things, and then if you work too little, then you don't have enough. It's this balancing point that we have to do, and it really, it sucks. Um, we it's a big balancing, and that the big word is balancing, and trying to navigate it sometimes is you have to be a rocket sciences, and we were talking where we've been disabled for a while, and you know there was still information that we had to talk about with the three of us, Tom and his girlfriend and I, and that there was an unclear part, and like, oh, I didn't know that, and so it's like this balancing act that we have to have these podcasts and these video casts that we do to keep learning from each other, even though we think we've learned it all and we think we know everything, but still there's this fine line that you have to gain or to learn to have the perfect independence. You know, not work just the right amount, to have the right amount of care, the right amount of this, the right amount of that. So it's a big balancing act.
And it's funny because like any one thing can feel almost insurmountable. Like I remember moving out, it's like, well, I asked myself the
Yes.
question, it's like, how am I going to eat? You know, am I going to cook every meal for myself? Am I going to have to go to the grocery store, get all the groceries, prepare all the food? It's like, no, probably not. Am I going to eat out every day, all the time? No, probably not. Not going to be really realistic either. I did have a solution, at least for the interim, was um, I went on the meal plan at the college I was attending, and so I did eat out every day at the dining hall, and I paid for the meal plan. You know, and that was my solution for a year. And I didn't use it enough. It cost too much, and I was like found myself eating at home all the time. But after a year of being like in my apartment on my own, like I had an accessible fridge. I figured out some things. I figured out frozen dinners. I figured out snacks. I figured out, this. I figured out it's like, hey, I can eat out once or twice a week. I can prepare food, once or twice a week, and then I can eat leftovers, the other 2 days or whatever, right? And I found some balance with it. And that was one thing. Now, dressing, could I dress myself? Could I get myself undressed? Could I brush my teeth? Could I comb my hair? Could I wash my face? Could I do, blah blah blah. The list goes on. It sounds overwhelming. Sounds crazy. I like
You
know a
can't.
lot of us like deal and face a lot of that stuff when we're first like coming out of rehab, as quads or pairs, is like how do we do our ADLs and how do we do all that stuff.
Trying to
Um
figure everything out at once is overwhelming and too much. You really just
yeah.
have to take things one at a time.
But I also,
Yep.
Just
it also happens naturally though, like you were
it
saying,
does.
Tom. Yeah, you had that meal plan, but over time you transition to your house a little bit more. You transition to prep work, having somebody in and doing some prep, food stuff for you, and then also stuff that you can do independently. And the amounts of food that you are gonna cook is just a lot less than, just you and your girl. So you don't have to cook for this whole family. So then you meal prep for that. But over time, you just did it slowly. Like it's kind of like rehab. At first, they don't say, "All right, Racheal, get dressed and undressed," and she's like, "What?" You know. At first, it was what a t-shirt, how to like first just put on a t-shirt, and then they're like, "Okay, now take it off," and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" So all these little steps, how we're gonna do it, using your teeth, and then they're like, "All right, now we're gonna go to pants and socks," and you know if we try to do it all in one day, it's going to be overwhelming. But over time, you start figuring things out, and just like the best thing I did for independence is I stare at something, and I just think and I think, and how am I gonna, what is this? And I kind of looking at my pants, you know, all right, how am I gonna get 501s off? The first button, or I did 505, so I didn't have the whole button up fly. It was the one button and the zipper. But I figured out I had a little coat hanger, zip up, zip down. And then I kept staring at the pants. And finally, like, if there was a loop, oh, yeah, all right, I just need a loop. Take it to a seamstress. And then, like, can you do this on all the pants? And they're like, yeah, no problem. And now the way I'm getting older and I hate the way the leg bag is on the pants, and to find a toilet that is disgusting where you have to put a ton of toilet paper. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to wear pants, how am I going to be more independent here? Oh, let's put a
Yeah.
zipper on the side where I would have that upper leg bag, and then I can do it that way. It just,
Did you
you know,
think of that and tell me, or did I think of that and tell you, Bobby? I don't know who came up with this, or if we
no,
both independently came up with the.
I've known about it for a long time. I just haven't done it. That's the part. I've just been lazy to take it over to a. I used to have the perfect person, and then when I moved down here, it was like I lost a good seamstress, and there
I
is.
got a local tailor shop right by me that
There
does
you go.
them. She actually used to do them all for free, just like she just liked me and was super cool. But after the pandemic now, she's charging me like 15 or 20 bucks, but it's still super cheap.
Yeah, no, no, and
But
I
now,
mean,
Rachel, how did that go for you? Like, learning your ADLs and stuff, learning dressing. Like we were talking about all the videos you post on, your reels and stuff, like showing off your badass, like quad skills. But how did that go? What was your big motivator for achieving that? Was it like rehab that got you down that path, or like did it come a little while after you were injured?
I just started dressing myself last year, and I
How long?
taught myself. I started with basketball shorts in the summertime because I was like, oh, these will be. Well, I started with underwear. Honestly, I started with underwear, and I was like, because I was tired.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, I'm tired of so many people, like, because. Like I was going through caregivers because it's hard to find a decent caregiver, and so I was going through so many caregivers. And I'm like, I'm so sick of so many people knowing what I look like naked. Like I would love to be able to get dressed so no one has to see me like that. And so I started with underwear, which was great. And then I tried I tried sweats and stuff, and I was like, this is fucking hard. I'm not doing this. But then I moved out here, and I was like, I just really wanted to get independent. So I started with basketball shorts. They were easy because they're silky, and you could pull them up real easy. And I was like, all right, well, winter's coming up. Let me start with sweats. So that's what I started with, was baggy sweats. So once I conquered that, then I was like, let me try leggings, like, workout leggings. I have to use my teeth, but I figured that out and I was able to do that. I was like, oh shit, okay, well, let me try skinny jeans. And I wear my jeans pretty tight. And I broken a couple loops on them, but I could get them up, and I figured that out too. I just, I don't know, because when I left rehab, and like my rehab therapist, he was amazing. He's a very sweet guy, but I was in such a small town with no big major cities, so the rehab was not that great. Like, it wasn't
Yeah,
that
and I mean
great.
anybody will tell you, even like at the good rehabs, like real rehab starts when you get home.
Mhm.
Like that's when the
Uh,
real boot camp starts. It's like when you're outside of that cozy environment in the rough. Now, Rachel, I'm not sure if you said at the beginning of the show. Forgive me if I've forgotten, but how long have you been injured?
15 years on July 1st
15
was my.
years. Okay, so you're kind of in a similar situation to me.
Yeah,
Like I
you're
did
kind of
not
like
start
in John.
dressing myself until a long, long time after my injury.
I think living with my mom, I was doing that thing where I'm like, this is hard. She could do it in 5 seconds, where it takes me 30 minutes. And I
Yeah,
got into that habit of like, well, it's just easier. It's faster that way. But then I got to the point, like with transfers, I learned how to transfer like 5 or 6 years ago independently. I was like, I got tired of going to bed when my mom wanted to go to bed. That bothered. Like I got annoyed with that. I was like, "Fuck, man! I want to stay up. I want to eat junk food and watch TV. Like that's what I want to do." So one day I was like, "Let me look up a YouTube video of how people are doing this." So that's what I did. I remember the guy that I watched. It was a YouTube video. My mom was at work. I get my best. I do my best when no one's in the house. That's where I learn my independence the best. And so she was gone, and I was like, let me see if I can do it. And I did it, and I pulled my legs in. I was like, oh my God. It was easy too. And I was like, I could have been doing this. But it was like such a freedom and a high. I was like, well, fuck, man. What else can I do? I'm sorry. I was like, well,
no, you're
You're
hell,
good.
good.
man. What else can I learn? Like, this is so nice. And I just got to the point where I was like sick of being on someone else's schedule. Like in the morning, it's nice. Like if she goes to work and I had a really shitty night of sleep, and I'm like, I don't want to get up, even though I
Yeah,
do, but I don't want to get up. I don't have to anymore. I can wait. She can leave. I can get dressed, get to my chair. I've gotten to that confident level. And this, like I said, I'm 15 years out, and I waited until like the last 3 years, and I made huge gains. So it's never too late or too early to get independent. But I think
Uh,
living with my mom hindered me a lot, like slowed down my progress
yeah. No,
a
I
lot.
mean, again, that's like probably wasn't any like negative intention of your mom, or like the situation, or just like
No.
a particular circumstance, right?
Mm,
My
That's
family,
typical with
you know,
family.
go ahead,
it
Sean.
is because they
I
don't
was gonna
want to
say that's
see
just
shit.
very typical with most family. Like that happens with
Mm,
families wants to help you. They want to be protective. They want to make sure you're not struggling. So it's
Oh, and
normal.
Yeah.
I've had the worst looks from moms and dads when I said stop doing that for them, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Don't no, that's my
Yeah,
baby." I was like,
yeah.
"I'm sorry,"
Yeah.
it's like I know he can do
And
it.
I mean, I'm so grateful for my family because my parents were really great. Especially like those last few years when I was like really trying to work on my independent skills. Because it's just like what Rachel was saying. Something that would take me an hour would take them 5 seconds to do, and it
Yeah.
would just be so easy and so convenient. And like sometimes like time just wasn't always like the most available asset lying around, and it's just what we had to do because was
Mhm.
everyone wanted to get to bed. We had stuff to do. It was just easiest. But, there were many, many instances and times where it wasn't just my parents, my brother and sister, where I'd ask for something. They'd be like, you can go do that yourself. And I'd like give them
My
that look,
sister.
being like, yeah, I can, but I don't want to. Are you gonna help me out? And then I'm like, go and get the cup and do the whole thing. But I forever, I'm so grateful for those moments because that was, the push and the condition that I needed. It's just like what Rachel said too. It's like the first time I did something that I hadn't done before, like the first time I made some macaroni and cheese like on the stovetop for myself, and like, like just the list goes on. It's like that adrenaline, that like feeling, that little dopamine hit you get where it's like, oh shit, like I could do that. Like I
It,
wonder what else I could do, you know?
It's
it
And
really is like a
that,
high. Yeah. No.
drug, can make you feel real good. And it's something that, I kind of kept on chasing. It's just because I like the feeling it gave me to be independent. It feels badass to, do
Hmm.
some of the independent transfers I do and to do like a lot of the stuff I do. And, it's also like I mirror you so similarly when you said like I don't want to be on nobody's schedule either. If I want to stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, eating junk food, playing my video games, like watching, silly shows, like that's what I want to do. If I want to sleep in a couple hours in the morning, or even get up, at the butt crack of dawn, and like, not wait for someone to show up to help get me up. It's like I want to be able to just get up.
a good
And
thing.
like I love that freedom. And again, it was a hard won fight. Um, and you know,
Tom, wait until your wife says, "Stop moving around so much. I'm trying to sleep in." Like my wife used to hate when I try and get up, and she's just like, "Will you just lay down and stop?" Or at night she was always, luckily she was a heavy sleeper at night, so I can come in at any time. But in the morning, I'd like always try like, and then it just like all of a sudden I'm slipping. I'm like, oh, she's like, "All right, I'm up too. Let's go." And I'm like,
well, I'm a spazzy son of a gun, and I'm spazziest right before I get out of bed into my chair.
Yeah.
So whoever's sleeping next to me is like, "Yo, bro, get out! Like
"Here
I
we
need
go."
like some peace and quiet. Like stop kicking me, all right?" um,
Uh,
but there's a couple really important comments I wanted to touch on. How I roll. Our friend Kelly said the reality is some of us can never. Well, it just went away. Some of us can never achieve. Can never be totally
you
independent.
told,
Yeah.
Absolutely. I for the rest of my life will need some level of help to a certain degree. If I want to, I think maintain my health, for any long period of time. I could survive for probably a couple weeks, but after a month, I'd probably be hurting. I need a shower. I need some help. Like I need, more than the bed bath I can do myself. And you know, I that's okay. It used to be, really tough thing mentally for me to kind of accept. And when I say used to be, I mean like within the last couple of years. It's like, oh, you were like smart, rational Tom. Like I was still pretty gosh darn irrational, when it comes to like, my want to just like will the universe to, bend around me the way that I want it. But, acceptance is a big part of this whole quad spinal cord injury thing. Accepting your limitations, accepting your physical ability, accepting your situation, being realistic about it because railing against it will end up, I think, causing and creating more problems and negativity in my life if I just like accept, hey, here's what I need to do to be more balanced, to be more healthy, to be safer, to be more successful and more independent long term. accept that, and deal with it. Not just deal with it, but be grateful and be happy with it and for it. Like I'm so happy and grateful for the care that I have, and, the caregivers that, come through, and, like I know that things are going to change, and, I might need more help down the road. I might need less help, in the future too, if I can get stronger and get cool technology and, do cool things. But accepting one situation, I think, is, really the first step towards like finding good, healthy balance in that situation. And then creating that change, or creating that environment, whatever it is in your life, to be successful and healthy. um,
And I think
Does he?
Daryl said it perfect. Those please and thank yous go a long way with caregivers, and that's important for independence, just alone, because I've had a few of my caregivers that had to move on, and years later down the road, when talking to them and just visiting and over the phone or whatever it is, and they're like, I stayed with you a lot longer than I wanted to because you were so nice. Uh, you did try to do a lot of your own stuff and didn't say, oh, grab this and get this. And, you were also prepared for your day. You had things ready for me. And it goes a long way, because I use some of my independence knowing, like, okay, and I forget who said it. It was Kelly, I believe, who just said it. It's like, it's not that I wasn't independent to get myself dressed. It was more about time and energy. So it was like, okay, at night, I want to stay out as late as I want. In the morning, I had to be at work at 8 o'clock. And if I'm going to be at work on time, like my boss wants, then my independence has to change. It's, I'm going to have a caregiver come in and have somebody help me so it can go a lot quicker than mine. But to make it easy for her, so we're out on time together, is independence on making sure my clothes are clean before she gets here, because that wasn't part of her job, and then making sure that I have other things ready, that needed for the day, that made it easy, things that are picked out, and oh, instead of trying to dig for that one shirt I want today, it was already picked out from the night before.
yeah.
Yeah. I would say, because my boyfriend now, he lives in a loft and it's upstairs, and his apartment is super inaccessible. Like, I can't access any of the bathrooms. I can't. His mattress is on the floor. He's like total dude. He's got a mattress on the floor. And like and he's got two TVs and his gaming system. He's a big gamer, but I need his help. Like, he has to carry me up and down stairs, and because the bed's not adjustable, if the bed's not adjustable, if I have my wheelchair next to me, I can use the wheel and pull myself up because I've gained so much muscle on my arm. But if it's just like a mattress on the ground, I have nothing. I have to pile up pillows behind me, and I dress myself as much as I can, but I need his help. But I'm always saying thank you. And one thing he told me, he's like, you are extremely grateful, and that's like, it's really nice that you're so grateful for everything that I do for you. I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, I'm totally thankful. But yeah, it's so hard dating someone with an inaccessible apartment, because I'm like, I'm gonna be here 2 days max, because I gotta go home and take a shower. I can't do that yet, so I'm
Yeah.
leaving.
I mean, that's another really tough thing about, I don't know,
Yeah.
like achieving independence, I guess, from your family, is, hiring caregivers, dealing with caregivers, people, that are going to change too over time, and, having to train, and, having them to like see you naked, and, they shower, and knowing your bowel care, and like in these very, vulnerable, intimate situations. It can be really tough mentally. I started. My parents started going on some vacations when I like became like a teenager, and they didn't travel anywhere for like a decade. And then they were like, "All right, we need some weekends away. Peace out, kiddos." And they hired a caregiver to come and help me with my morning care and my shower. So even on the weekend they were away, I still had, my daily care. And I don't know. I didn't really struggle too much with it. I think the first time was really hard, just scary. It was weird. It's different. Like I had my security blanket taken away. But it was also, like ripping the band-aid. It like opened my eyes. I was like, that's when I really started to think about the future and consider, maybe life after, moving out and stuff, and what this might be, what this might look like. And, it did definitely give me some time to deal with it mentally, over a couple of years and very slowly transition. I felt like by the time I moved out, it's not that it wasn't hard, because it was, but yeah, I developed, a thick enough skin. Like it didn't really bother me to, have someone I hadn't seen before, if they're in like a caregiving capacity, like, like see me undressed, it's like meet me in there learning my care, like that day, within that 5 minutes of saying hi, they're like, helping me out, doing my care. It sounds crazy to
Oh,
someone,
I've done it so many times now too. Yeah, like,
but
hi,
I
nice
don't
to
even
meet
think
you.
about it.
Now I'm naked.
Yeah.
I need help putting this in my butt.
Yep. Yep. And
So awkward.
it's crazy. It can be super, like super crazy to overcome that
and I
mentally. It can
and
be
I
very
think Sean
difficult.
experienced the most craziest is when you've hired somebody over the internet, and then you're at a strange city in a strange, in a hotel, and you wait for them because you left their name to have the key to your hotel room, and they come up and they open the door, and you've never met this person, and here it's like, hello, all
I
right,
did it.
I
I
gotta
did it
get,
with Shawn this summer, and let
and
me tell you, it was real freaking nerve wracking. But also, it
and
was a super positive, amazing experience in that, like, there was no assault, there was no, health or safety concerns. It was like skilled, trained individuals. Nothing was taken from me. It was all good. It was very like professional and really cool. Um,
Yeah,
but
it all
that's
worked
learned.
out for, at least
but also it
for.
works out when you put the right attitude towards it as well,
Yeah.
and Tom, and I'm sure, you were independent in the sense that, okay, you had everything ready for this person, this stranger, and, had everything, okay, it's right there. You don't have to go dig it. Like, that's what I used to have
Plus,
everything.
here was my real like technique, Bobby. Is I had him go to Shawn's room first, so I figured if anything, stuff would go wild over there. I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I'm out. Peace out, Shawn. Good luck."
Sean's getting raped first before I.
Oh,
No, 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 no. But the way
Uh,
that we did it too is like I got up and I rolled over to Shawn's room and like met the caregiver like with him
and and that's the other
for the
thing is
first time.
I didn't actually like leave the key. I actually got out of bed because like I haven't that enough independence. So I actually got out of bed, transferred, and like opened the door for them. So I can, and usually if we have somewhat of an accessible room, usually you can have the low people. You can at least see them for a second to
Yeah.
make sure it's
Before they
like who you.
your unmentionables.
Uh, but yeah, no, it's a
For
sketchy
real though.
situation. It's all.
So
But
Uh,
awkward.
it's also like one of those things too is Daryl said it, like I am the kindest and most gracious and patient person, even though I am not in always the most patient or graceful or kind mood, which is like just the reality. But I did have some transgressions with my mom back in the day. Like we get at each other's throat, like like family's family, and sometimes like you really know how to dig at family. And my mom and I would dig at each other sometimes when we'd be really tired and overwhelmed and really burnt out, on the amount of care she helped me with, and same, like I would get burnt, she would get burnt, and then my dad would step in, and like we'd give her mom a break and figure it out. um I don't
Doug to the
have
rescue.
that. I don't have that relationship that I can't be like that with my caregivers, here, because if I'm rude or if I'm mean or if I say something fucked up, like they'll be like, "Peace out, Tom." Like that's enough of that, Nor is it right to do so. There have been many mornings where I've been really on the wrong side of the bed. One because I'm not feeling good, because I'm tired, because I had a shitty dream, woke up, bad mood, whatever it is. Um, and I've like learned, like if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. And I just shut my mouth. And like if like usually they'll pick up on my energy and my quiet, energy. But like just ask me whatever, the minimal is. And like, that's just how I'll go about my care that morning. But I'll tell you what, like the caregivers I have now, like if I wake up in a bad or funky mood, like when they leave, I'll be feeling a whole lot better because, like they're positive, like, energy, like, being around me, help me out is like what helps me out, too, in some ways. But even, when I've felt no patience or, I've like had, things on the tip of my tongue that, like I almost said, it's like I've always stopped myself because I'm in a very different, unique situation, and I would really, really hate to take that for granted, especially, get a bad rep with an agency, get a bad rep with even just a person that, like is hoping to like train my future caregiver when they eventually have to move on and stuff. It's like I don't want that in any way, shape, or form, and I just don't want to be that person. So I think it's really a good point, Daryl, and I'm glad you brought it up. Always make sure to give love to your caregivers and stuff. That being said, if you got a bad one, kick them to the curb. Figure out that change in that situation. I've had some funky, gnarly caregivers too. It hasn't all been in
Yeah.
rainbows and sunshine, and I've had to be like, okay, deuces, like I need someone else, or I need not this, you
Yeah.
know and that can be scary too. Now I have some security in that, like I could survive a little while, um between like hiring someone and like not end up like septic or with some serious skin issues or something. But you know I always try to just find good people and keep good people.
Yeah, and one thing you were saying, Tom, make sure that if you are having those bad days and those wake up times, and we all have them. I just warn, I warn my wife or my caregiver. It's just like, hey, I'm gonna have a crappy day, or I'm for some, and I don't say that. I'm just like right now, I'm having issues with just me. It's not you. So if I speak where I shouldn't be speaking or get snippy, then it's on me. I'm sorry. It's not you
Yeah.
doing anything today. So I try to preempt it, and I have done it a few times. And they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they're like, "Can I do anything?" It's like, "Nope, just let me have this." So it
And
definitely is a bad day, but just
I'll
make
get
sure.
frustrated. I'll get frustrated at my body, and I'll curse, and I'll like be a little like visibly pissed off. But yeah, I'll preface that too. I'll be like, I'm really sorry, so and so, whoever's taking care of me. It's like I'm not mad at you. Like I'm mad at this situation. I'm mad at my body. I'm mad at my legs. I'm mad at whatever is causing me some discomfort. Like it's not that. And
It's okay, Mom.
it's like we're all human. We're all normal people. Like I think everybody can be very understanding of the difficult nature of some days and some issues that we face regularly. I think as long as you just are honest about your situation, what's going on. It's like I'm sorry you get caught in the crossfire. Like I'm not being mad. I'm not mad at you. I'm not being snippy to you. It's just like I'm mad at my body. I'm mad at the
Yeah.
world. I'm mad at the universe.
Yeah.
So I usually
And
just tell them I'm not having a great like morning. I'm not feeling great, like, and then that's like
Yeah.
I'm also just quieter, like you said. Like I just kind of keep to myself. I don't say a whole lot. They kind of just it's just kind of like we go about the
Yeah.
morning. I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to say anything mean or anything like that. I'm just not going to be like asking how their day was or like being like
Yeah.
very
How
sociable.
was
But
your
it's
day as a
that's not our
worker?
job either to like be social or whatever. Our
Yeah.
job is to be like cordial and to be like respectful. But also like we're just there to get it done. If they can't be respectful of that, if you're feeling like not being super positive or super talky, like that's like respect too that should come from them.
yeah. And
Uh,
Tommy, you were talking about having when your mom was your caregiver and butting heads. It's with family, it's a balancing, and that's why a lot of times you have to be very communicative and make sure that to eliminate some of those. It's
You,
hard, and that's why it's not fun to have your family. And I dealt with it for a year and a half with the wife when COVID first hit, and we didn't want anybody. And then when things were lifting up, we were like, she was like, this is kind of nice not having anybody. But because of sometimes we were butting heads, I was just like, all right, and after she had her brain aneurysm, I got somebody and she was helping great. And Ellen's like, okay, I'm better. Let's down that. And I'm like, no, let's not. You're my wife and I need a caregiver. So let's not overlap this,
Yeah.
So okay on the weekends that you give me a hand in the morning when getting up, but let's also have help during the week and give you a break. And so we don't butt heads so much.
Do you
It's
deal
all
with that,
about that
Rachel,
balance and everything
with
with
you and
us,
your
I
mom?
think.
What's that?
Huh?
I was asking
Yeah.
Rachel,
Rachel.
just like she deal with that. Like, do you butt heads with your mom? Like, do you struggle,
It's,
like in any regard with that?
listen, me and my
Go
mom
to,
were not
go to her
on
Instagram.
great
That's where you'll
terms.
see it.
Like before my accident, like wasn't. I was a horrible fucking teenager. Okay, I was horrible. So and then when I came home from the hospital, like we were together all the time, which we weren't like that before. So yeah, we used to butt heads hard, and then me and my sister could not work together, could not do it. And then when I got outside caregiver, I remember thinking, oh, this is nice. This is really nice because I don't have to deal with that all the time. Now it's a lot better now. Obviously, my sister's older, so I still don't ask my sister for help. She has her own family to take care of, and I really don't like bothering her. And now I'm independent, but like me and my mom had to learn. Like it was a great thing because we were forced to learn to communicate. But like as of now, if um, I don't mind her helping me with getting in and out of the shower, but like I'm really weary of allowing certain people. Like my friend was like, "Hey, you should let me take care of you," and I said no. And she's like, "Why?" I was like, "Because I love you and I want us to remain friends." And I just don't think it's a great idea because it's really hard to work with someone like that all the time. That's just my perspective. I would
It
rather have
is.
outside care where they know their job. I know my place because for me, it's really hard for me to be like, can you do it this way? Because it's like a friend helping you. Whereas when it's a caregiver, I'm like, no, I don't want you to do it that way. I want you to do it this way. This is how I like it done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I've already processed out of that because I got tired of asking people for help. And now I'm like, if I can't do it independently, I just won't do it. I'm like, oh, I don't need to learn. Like, and this is just an example, but the fake eyelashes, I was like, man, fuck this. This is too hard. I could do mascara. I will wear mascara. Like that's it. Yeah, it is. I refuse. Like if I'm dating someone personally, and this is just my own personal opinion, I just started dating recently in the last like 3 years. I hadn't dated for a decade before, and I just it's hard for me to allow like my significant other to help me with certain things. Like I'm like there's a limit of where I will allow them in because I just feel like it kind of changes things. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. That's my little.
No,
It's
you're right.
funny.
It can't. Yeah.
I'm like kind of a stubborn son of a bitch. If anybody hasn't taken the hint, I can be in that way. And it's like I want any help from anybody, it's like,
Yeah.
especially like let alone like my partner. It's like I want to I want to just be able to do everything myself. I don't want to burden especially like that person with any more than I already do. But that I don't know,
It's
like
unrealistic.
it's funny because it's just like something you like gotta learn. I think it's like a part of like any normal part of a relationship. Disabled or not, it's like you gotta learn to lean on other people and let other people in, let other people help and stuff. I think it's a really really big part of it. Part of like
It's a
dating
trust thing.
relationships, but also just like on the greater like topic to connect to like what we're talking about, accepting your limitations and getting the help that you require isn't taking away from your independence. I think it's actually elevating your independence because it allows you to be more successfully independent overall. If you can just get help where you need help, get assistance in the right places and the right times and stuff. I think overall, can make you a lot more functionally independent in your everyday life if you just like kind of come to terms with that, and accept some limitations and you know, adjust.
My fear is always
I
like
tell
if I
my
let
own.
them into.
Sorry, I was just reading the comment that Kelly
Right.
left.
What was
Um, yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I was just gonna say, with me with dating, it was a like, it was an irrational fear that I had with dating. I did not want to date after my accident. I was like, no, I made sure that I made it to where my boyfriend at the time had to leave because I pushed him away. And I did not date for a decade. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Um,
Same.
Now I'm dating and I do need his help, especially when I'm at his house. I need a lot of help, but it's like it was a fear and it still is a fear of mine. Like if I let them in too much, they're gonna be like, this is too much, I am out, I'm bailing. So it's like I have really bad trust issues and obviously abandonment issues, where I think everyone's just gonna bail out because, like, I'm sure you guys experience this when you get injured. You think you have a room full of friends and family and stuff, and everyone fucking bails. Everyone leaves. And so when that happened, literally the only person that stuck around was the person I treated the worst, which was my mom. She never left my side. She's the only person I trust. It's like it's just really it's difficult, but I agree with you. Like it's unrealistic to be like, I don't need your help, I miss independence. It's like, yeah, but girl, you've been struggling trying to get those jeans out for an hour, and we got places to go.
We
Okay,
got places to
like
go. You've been struggling. Let's move this along a little bit.
I don't
No,
need
I
a
yeah,
mean
correction.
definitely.
you need help.
You I think following your injury, you definitely do find out, who your true family and friends are, because they are the ones that do stick around. It's like hard to speak on any situation because every situation is different. I'm so thankful, for my mom and dad that they were able to endure the trauma that they experienced, independent of what I was going through, and stick it out, and hang around to be a good positive support for me and my brother and sister. Like, so big props to them in that situation. But every situation is different, every situation is unique, and we at the end of the day we can hold ourselves accountable. That's pretty much it. It can be difficult, it can be easy, I think, given this situation, to give yourself a little bit less accountability sometimes. uh, I I hold myself too accountable. I think I set my expectations too high. Probably to a hindrance to myself sometimes. I do try to be very self-aware and rational, and then readjust my realistic expectations. But again, it all comes down to me. What I want in my life and what I want to do. Rachel's independence comes down to her and what she wants to do, and how she wants to live her life, and curate her situation. Same with Bobby and Shawn. Kelly, Daryl, everybody want, like everybody in the chat, like it all comes down to the individual. It all comes down to your own person. Um, I think it can be a very healthy, positive goal for oneself to, like have some things that they maybe, they think they could do. It's like, I really like to push myself to do that. I think that's
Mhm.
awesome. I think it's really healthy for you. It's very, good to be self-motivating and to push yourself. And it very often opens doors to other things you didn't even realize you could do. Like, I can't tell you how many times that's happened in my life, but, also don't be unrealistic and get down on yourself for not necessarily get to that goal quick, or easily, or even failing, because no, like, failure is not a bad thing. It's lessons learned along the way. The only failure you take away from not achieving something is like not having learned something along the way to get there. And that's really what it all comes down to. It's like, I've met many obstacles that I tried to achieve and realized wasn't realistic. It's not something I could do. At least not easily. The amount of energy and time would derail me from other things I need to do and have energy and time for, and accepting those limitations and moving on from them. I think learning all that stuff is very, very important. So give yourself some credit, for what you're doing, what you achieve on a daily basis. All of our ADLs, getting up, putting a smile on your face, getting in your chair, getting up, moving, whatever it is. Make sure to give yourself just tons and tons of love and credit along the way, because it is not an easy road. It is something that can take decades, a lifetime, to achieve and to attain. And it doesn't mean you're not achieving and attaining and being independent along the way. So you know if that any of that makes sense, I hope it did. Give yourself
No, it
lots of
does.
love, give yourself lots of credit, but also push yourself too. If you have a mind to do so, I think it could be a really healthy, positive thing to you know be active, be independent, to you know
Chal-
push to achieve.
Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself a little bit every day, and that will gain you a little bit of independence. More and more. And if you think the line is here, try a little bit of a step over that line and see what happens. Do it when somebody's around. Maybe not as crazy as when Racheal, doing it all when no one was around, but and I know I've done it too. But
I
I've
was
also
actually gonna say after Rachel went, that was when I gained most of my independence too. So when I was first hurt, and not really able to do anything, transfer anything, my dad, brothers, and everything would leave all day for work, and I'd be at home with my stepmom all day, which at the time we didn't get along great at that time. So she basically just left me in the room for the 8 hours, and would maybe pop in once or twice in the day, like, you okay? All right, so during that time, I strived. I tried everything I could to be independent. I worked on any little thing I could, picking things up, writing, doing things on the computer, getting into drawers, getting into whatever I could to, opening things up, and just like that's where all my independence came from. I was like, that was my time to shine. I was like, all right, I'm on my own. Let's do this. And then everyone would get home like, what the hell did you do all this shit?
I
So
always
yeah.
relate my journey of independence to being like Tom Hanks in Castaway. It's like sometimes you just gotta put yourself on an island and survive. It's like my island happened to be like a 325 square foot apartment. I wasn't like unbeknownst like cast away there, but I came in with some tools and some skills. But you're hungry enough, like you figure out how to eat. If you're not comfortable, you figure out how to get comfortable. And sometimes you gotta maroon yourself in the situation and challenge yourself a little bit. And I only relate that to like being home alone, not having anybody around, having a little bit less security. I think sometimes can be, the secret sauce that, can help push you, give you that push. It's like there is no other option because there's nobody else around. I'm either gonna do it or not. And yeah, I kind of love that. I like, you gotta push yourself to sometimes see what you're capable of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
So let's wrap up the show here a little bit. I do want to thank our sponsors here because
Oh,
we have
goodness
not done that
gracious.
yet
Did we wait all
on
the
the
way to
show.
the end to do this?
Yeah. That was your
You all
time.
know them. You all
That
love
was
them.
that was your
Mobility
time.
Professionals. They are the greatest rehabilitation equipment company in probably the world, definitely Southern California. So if you're local out here and you find yourself in need of a wheelchair, in need of other, rehab equipment, standing frames, and the like, please give Mobility Professionals a call. Let them know that Literal sent you, because they're awesome. They're amazing. They really do a lot to support, understand, be a part of our community. They're always at every event, and
As I
go
say,
and
we
show
were
them some
just hanging
love.
out with them last weekend on Saturday at the
And
Triumph Sports Festival here.
yeah, they'll
So
show you lots of love back, especially if you tell them Live Troll sent you. But Urology Professionals is their sister company, and they specialize in urological supplies. Catheters, we all need them. We all use them. We all maybe love them or hate them. But, regardless how you feel, we all got to use them sometimes. It can be really tricky and really tough to get catheters, unfortunately, these days. It should be something that anybody should have instant, easy access to. But unfortunately, it's not always the case. If you give urology professionals a call, explain your situation, they will help figure out, navigate, get you, your catheter supplies, what you need, however much of it that you need, all covered by your insurance. They have people, it is their job to understand, the behind the scenes and workings of, the healthcare industry, understand your situation, understand your medical needs, and get you the right stuff. and all it takes is just a phone call. So give urology professionals a call. They are a national company. So anywhere in the United States you find yourself, struggling with urological supplies, don't give them a call and get it figured out, because they'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, yeah, they're a great company. Like we said, they were just out supporting at the event we were just at. They do a lot of local support for the community, so we want to support
Um,
them.
we got a question, if you don't
Yeah, we
mind,
do have a
Rachel.
question
We're
for
taking it
Racheal.
towards the end. How
I'd
did
have
you
to be
cope with losing a decade of your dating life? I'm in a similar situation. I'm 28 and just getting out there, and I feel like I missed my window.
no way.
You
28 still young, man.
didn't. Yeah,
I just
you're
turned
still
30.
you're
Don't
still
say, let's get old. I'm just kidding.
it's a I would say I always tell people to jump back in the game soon, man, because dating in your 30s is a shit show. Now there's still good people out there. I think it's just a little harder to find. You're waiting for the divorce to be final. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, the hardest part for me was except like being okay with, like, it seemed like when my depression, I had manic clinical depression for about 12 years of my injury. It just cleared up the last 3 years, and that's when I think I honestly accepted my injury about 3 years ago. And when I was able to do that, I was able to open myself up to dating again. But I would say jump in, like, yeah, the first date's uncomfortable, but shit, it's a free. Well, if you're the dude, if you're a girl, it's a free meal. Like, it's a free meal. Just go out, enjoy your time. The worst thing that happens is it's just shit show, and you never have to see that person again. Like, so you just do it. Just put yourself in the cure for anxiety. That was my thing, was the anxiety. The cure for anxiety is putting yourself in a situation that makes you anxious and then sitting in it till your anxiety comes down. Now, when I went on my first date with this guy, he literally, I was like, well, you'll have to put me in your truck, like, I won't be able to do it. I didn't even care. I was just like, whatever. I was like, yeah, let's go do this. Like, and I was totally, I cannot believe it's night and day where I've come from. You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. No one grows in their comfort zone. You just don't. It's important.
I
um,
mean,
Well
there's
said. Yeah.
never a missed window,
yeah.
and I want to make that clear. I mean, I know many friends uh, that are disabled that have met, their significant other at many different periods of their life. I have a really good friend that is
Hey,
living
sorry,
with his.
Bobby. Sorry to interrupt, but Juan, you inspire me, bro. For real. I'm not just saying that, man. Love you, dude. Thanks for hanging
Thanks,
around and
Juan.
hanging in the chat. Sorry, Bobby.
No, that's all
Just wanted to
right.
catch it
That
before he
needed to
left.
be said. Thanks, Juan. And but there's never. He was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. He's gonna have to tell me. But I think he was in his late 40s when he met his now living girlfriend that is so special, and we all love her. And it took him many different little tries here and there. I met my wife at 30. There's never a missed opportunity. It's never too late.
I'm
It's
34.
it
I'm
will
34.
happen. It just
I'm
if
about to
you
be
try
40
to
in
make
2 weeks.
if you
Yeah.
if you try too hard, then it's not going to work. If you just be yourself, that's what you have to do, and you just be yourself, and you know make yourself available, make yourself, and that's where some of the independence is. If you're going to be like, oh, on your second day, like, hey, can you do this and this and this for me, you know depending
Yeah.
on your level of ability to be independent. But some people need more. Yes, like I had a friend that is a ventilator quad. He met his wife. And obviously she does a lot for him, but that was already laid out. It laid out early, and they're married and with a beautiful daughter now. But there's no, don't worry, your wife's boyfriend. 28, you're way too young. It will happen. And same with you. If at 50, I know another friend of mine who just is about to get married, and he's 51.
I
So
would
there you
say
And
go.
try dating on. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say,
Go ahead.
the fact that you're just getting out there now, it's like a credit and testament to where you've come. If that was like something that was hard or difficult before, like give yourself some credit for, getting out there now and not waiting any longer. Um, if that's like what you want to do and what makes you, It's gonna make you feel good. It can be super scary dating, and like honestly, your early 20s, like those like early like those previous 8 years, it can be real messy. Oh, and a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
yeah, a little wild. If you still want to do that, wild it out, live that messy, crazy, fun life for a couple years, you still can. There's no window that's missed. There'd be, people in their 30s be out there wilding too, just like
Yeah.
the same in their 20s, and there's no window that's shut. There's no FOMO. There's no missing out on nothing because you're here now. You're here for it, and that's all you got to give yourself credit for if that's how you feel and what you want to do. If all that dating crap is still a little too overwhelming and crazy, then give yourself some more time. It ain't no thing.
Yeah.
I will say the older you get, the better quality. Like the older you get, the more you know yourself. I think once I hit my 30s, it was easier for me to date guys because I felt like they were less visual and they weren't so focused on my disability as whereas they wanted to get to know me. And I dated online, and what I like about that is my profile picture was me in a wheelchair, and I put in my bio, I am disabled. Okay? I'm disabled. And before they would talk to me, I'm like, did you see my bio and my photos? And either they would come back or they wouldn't, but it weeds out a lot of that problem. That's why I like about dating online. And that's where I met the guy that I'm dating now. And I'm pretty sure, he'll never see this, but I think he's the one. I think he's the one. So don't give up because it happens.
All right, all right, that's
Right on.
exciting. And you're old fashioned, so all good. All the better. It's messy, going out there and being wild and being crazy. It's got its time and its place. I think, but old fashioned can be definitely the way to go. And if that's the case, then you're here and you're doing it. 28, like, is still, like Bobby said, so
Please,
young.
young man.
You
I'm
still
about to be
got
40 in 2
years.
weeks. I'm still,
Uh,
I'm still trying
I'm
to
Yeah.
find
glad.
some.
I'm glad I wasn't in a relationship at 28. Let's put it that way. It was
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
28. I
you
was
know,
going
you,
hard.
it was too much fun, and even when I met my wife, I was like, all right, now it's not. I'm not going to be like, but I still was able to jet set wherever I wanted to. And that's when you met the perfect one. She's just like, oh, you're going there? Okay, well, have fun. Tell me how it goes. I don't want to go, but go for it. And have fun with your boys. And bachelor parties is just like, here, do you need a couple 21s? I mean, here, have fun. And I'm just like, all right, this might be a keeper. So it made it easy when she knew that I still wanted some independence. Because she likes her independence too. So that's when I knew I met the right person. And don't
Oh.
worry about what age you are. Or, that it might never happen, but eventually it just like all of a sudden, boom, it's in my face. And I had plenty of girlfriends in my 20s, and glad that you know we both said, and there was like three of them that we both said, this is just for fun. I'm not wanting to get tied down or anything. One girlfriend, she was just like, I'm going off to college soon, so or her, I think it was her master's program, and it was like, no problem. So we got what, 4 months. All right, let's have fun. And that's what it was about.
I'll tell you what, it can be a great motivator. It was honestly like kind of what motivated me to like move out and like, get my independence and shit together. It's like I wanted to date. I wanted to like be able to have my own place, to, like bring the booty back to on a Friday night. Like really, it
Uh,
sounds silly, but like that's one of the main reasons I want to move on. It's 'cause like I couldn't imagine, like going out a day and like having to go back home to like my bedroom or my parents' house and stuff. It's like
You're like,
I
be
want like it was like
quiet.
something I wanted.
That's funny.
And it like I'd be lying if it wasn't like a big motivator because like I'd seen the movies, I'd seen my friends, like I'd heard the stories, and I was like, ooh, I want that. Part of that for me was like, just being in my space and being able to do that. And I'll tell you what, it was just a huge motivator for me. It's just like wanting to get out dating, and get out, live my life, and meeting other people and stuff. It pushed me a lot to achieve some of what I have, at least independence wise. So, that's just a little side note. Not sure if that's relatable to anybody, but
Yeah, I think we got off into like a little side dating topic here at the end, but that's cool. I mean, independence and dating is
Sean's
all.
like, we're going way over time, you guys. We got to wrap this up. Hey, we'll do a dating and relationships episode soon, though. And Rachel, maybe we'll have you back on because it seems like you got some good input on that. But we'll definitely put on the docket, you guys, and it won't take up too much of your time further. If
Yep,
you want to maybe
and
start to wrap it up.
we got oh, oops, that's the wrong one. The sponsors. We got Bobby and Robert coming up on Thursday. It'll be slightly
Let's
different for you guys, just
go.
to warn you. We're actually recording it on Wednesday and then playing on Thursday because Bobby has an appointment. But we're gonna be live in the chat, so we
Okay.
should all be live in the chat and be able to
Sean,
talk. So
Tom,
it still will
Robert
be
will be.
interactive. It'll show up as a premiere. But yeah, check that out. And then we'll be back next Tuesday. And then the following Thursday, Brianna will be on with the girls, the women's show. So lots of content. Keep coming back Tuesday, Thursday. We're here. Check us out. All right,
Rachel, thank you
everybody.
so much for coming
Yeah,
on,
thank you,
talking
Racheal.
about your badass
And,
quad
and,
independence.
and I said it
Thanks for
earlier in
having
the
me.
show. Go check out Rachel's page. You are one of the bright sides of when I am on Instagram. That I always just love seeing your content. You have a lot of great stuff, and you always put a smile on my face, Rachel. So thank you for
Oh,
that,
thank
and keep it up. And
you. So
yeah,
sweet.
because
Yeah, you
I
guys can
remember
follow
we
her.
first
It's tough
on.
as nails. It's down in the description as well. If you want to copy it, check it out on Instagram. So,
Yeah, no,
Heck
you
yeah.
should be proud, very proud. I've watched you in the last year and a half, and it's awesome stuff. Good job.
I
yeah,
appreciate that so much. That means a lot. I appreciate you guys having me. I love coming on this show. So,
Well, we really
awesome.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we
And
love having you.
we
And
appreciate Sean and Bobby. Thank you guys. You're awesome.
No,
And
thank you,
yeah.
Tom. And remember, Tom,
and
you
thank you
are a
everybody
smart
for
guy.
watching.
hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, we'll catch y'all on Thursday. Live in the chat. Watching Rolling Over the Hill.
Live
There
to
you
roll,
go.
everybody.